All right, so when you're adding and subtracting fractions, you must always have a common denominator. But let's go over numerator and denominator again. If I have a fraction, which one of these is the numerator? Top one. Numerator. Put this in your notes. Numerator. Okay, so which one does that make the denominator? The bottom one. Denominator. Okay, write this down. When you add or subtract fractions, you must have a common denominator. Okay, when I say common denominator, what does that mean? Common denominator, it means the bottom number of the two fractions have to be the same in order to add the numerators. That's okay. So let's practice one of these. If I have 13 over 18 plus 9 over 18, first thing you do is check. Are the denominators the same? Are they? Yeah. Yes, because they're both what? 8. So once I know that, then I can do the addition. And all you do is add the top number. So I say equals, I write the same denominator that I've had, and I add the top numbers. What's 13 plus 9? 22. Now this is called what? Do you remember what this is called? No, the whole thing, this whole fraction. It's called an improper fraction. Okay, is this technically a correct answer? Yes. But they're going to want you to change this into a mixed number or mixed fraction. Okay, to make this a mixed, you see how many times can 8 go into 22? 8 times what gets me as close to 22 as possible? Well, start. What's 8 times 2? Which is what?
16.
What's 8 times 3?
24.
Which is higher than 22, so it has to be 8 times 2. So 8 goes in two times, so this is my big number, which was 16, so I'm going to subtract 16 from that 22, which is what? 6, and then I just rewrite my common denominator. Now this is a mixed fraction. However, it is still not simplified because I can reduce this fraction. So I say equals 2 over, what is a factor that can go into both 6 and 8? Factors are numbers that are common to both numbers. 2 can go into both of them. 2 goes into 6 how many times?
3.
And 2 goes into 8 how many times?
4.
Very good. Usually when you get an odd or an even, you're done. So this would be my final answer. All of this you should have written in your journals. Okay, bonus question. What is this giant number in front called? It has a name.
Whole number?
It is a whole number, but the whole thing's a fraction, so it's not really a whole number. I've said it once or twice, but it's not common, something I've said to you guys. Starts with a C, 6th grade if you have it, bonus points.
What?
What's the big number 2 in front of the fraction called? You'll hear it more when you get to algebra.
He's gonna look it up.
Don't look it up. I'm watching you.
You basically can't.
I've said it a few times, but I haven't really pointed it out. Starts with a C. Anybody?
Calculator.
No, common factor is not it. Calculator is not it. Coefficient. This is called a coefficient. So there's a bonus vocab word for you. Trust me, this will help you when you get to algebra. So write it all down. Make sure you have this page written down. I will pause until you've written it in your journals. All right, so let's do another example. Now we're going to add mixed fractions to make sure you guys know how to do that. So if I have 4 1/4 plus 2 2/4, what's the first thing we do? Nope. What's the first thing I do when I'm adding?
Look at the two bottom numbers.
Yes, make sure the denominators are the same. 6th grade, stop bugging my 5th graders. So these are the same, yes? So we know we can add it. Now, there's 2 different ways you can do this. I'm going to teach them both to you. I want you to take notes on both of these so you know which one works for your brain better. The first way is to add it like it is right now. When you're adding, I can look at the coefficients. You're going to hear me say that more now. I can add those, and then I can also add the numerators. So let's do this first. What's the coefficients added together? 4 plus 2 is what?
6.
Good. I already know what my denominator is, so I can write that in there. What's my denominator?
3.
Look up here again.
4.
4. So now I just add the numerators. What is 1 plus 2, Ariana? She was answering that question. 3. So this is one method. You can add the coefficient first and then the numerator. There's one catch to this. Make sure you understand this. If this numerator is larger than the denominator, then I have to carry 1 to the big coefficient. Let me give you an example. If my answer came out to be 6 5/4, I can't leave that as my answer. I have to take 1 part out of the 5 to make that a 7. And remember, 1 part of this 5 is actually 4 parts. So I would be left with 1/4. So maybe I should say it in a different way. Maybe I should say I'm taking 4 parts out of this 5, because that's what the denominator is, and adding 1 to the big number. Let me write it this way. If I have 6 5/4, that's the same thing as 6 and you could say 4/4 plus 1/4, right? Does that make sense? Because 4 and 1 is 5. Nod your head if this makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, I need to say it again. All I did was break up the 5/4 into 4/4 and 1/4. Does that make sense? Okay? So when you have 4/4, what is any number over any number always equal? 1. So that's how come when you have 5/4, we take one whole number and add it to this one to get the 7, and then we just have what's left over. Does that make sense? Better this time? Okay, so this is one way to add mixed fractions. Let me show you the other way. Beforehand. Either one, you'll get the same answer. If you do it this method, adding the coefficients, if the number's bigger, then you got to put a whole number on the on the whole number, on the coefficient. That's the word I was looking for. The way you do it, just do whatever makes sense. So I'm going to take the same fraction, 4 1/4 plus 2 2/4. First off, I check the denominator. Are they the same? Yes. Then here's the next method. Instead of trying to make sure the coefficients and numerators and all that works out, you turn these into improper fractions. Okay, this is a mixed number. To make it improper, I do the coefficient times the denominator, and then I add the numerator. What's 4 times 4?
16.
Plus 1?
17.
So this is 17/4. Plus, what's 4 times 2?
8.
Plus 2?
10.
10/4. Okay, my denominator stays the same. What's 17 plus 10?
20.
Now I just turn it back into a mix. You can say it at the same time. I'm cool with everybody answering. How many times can 4 go into 27? Let's see, 8 times 4 is what? 32, so that's too big. 6 times 4 is what? 24. 5 times 4 is 20. 6 times 4 is 24. What's 7 times 4? 28. So 6 is the biggest we can go, right? So we can do 6 times 4, which is 24. So I'm going to say 27 minus 24 to get my new numerator. What's 27 minus 24? 6 3/4. Make sense? So you can do it this method, or you can do it the method I just taught you. I don't care which one you do. Whichever one you felt you understood better, you need to do. Remember. So if that part's hard for you, then do this method where you change it into improper fractions, because you won't mess up with the coefficients if you have it in this method. Okay? Any questions? No? All right, so then the last thing I'm going to talk about is subtracting. So if I have, you treat subtracting the same as you do addition, you're just subtracting. So if I have 6 over 8 minus 3 over 8, first thing I do is do what? Check the denominators. Are these the same? So then I know my answer is going to be 8, the denominator of 8. So then I just subtract the top numbers. 6 minus 3 is what? 3. Then you check if you can reduce it. 3 and 8. 3 is odd. 8's even. Probably small, so it cannot be reduced. Done. Okay, let's try another one. What if I have 5/6 minus 1/6? First step, check the denominators. Are they the same? Good. So now I can subtract. 5 minus 1 is 4. Very good. Am I finished? No, I can simplify this. What's a common factor to both 4 and 6? 2. 4 divided by 2 is? 6 divided by 2 is? There's my final answer. Now remember, when you're simplifying, you want the greatest common factor dividing out of both. Sometimes when they're really big numbers, finding the greatest common factor could be like 20, and that's a hard. You can use 2 multiple times. I could say divide by 2. Oh, that still looks even over even. Divide by 2 again. I don't mind you doing it that way. But if you can think the greatest common factor, it'll help you have less work. Make sense? All right. Let's do one more subtraction. If I have 14 over 4 minus 9 over 4, first things, are my denominators the same?
Yes.
Good. So my answer is going to be over 4. 14 minus 9 is what? 5. How do I simplify this? Yep, say it. You got it. I have 1 big because 4 can go into 5 one whole time, which is 5. Then I say 5 minus 4, which is, give me how many on the 1 left over. Very good. 1 1/4. Good job. Coefficient. That's a weird word. I don't care. You can say big number. I'll understand what you're talking about. Coefficient, that word will come to you the more you have my class. I'll say it as much as I can. Okay, any questions on adding or subtracting fractions? We're going to go over adding and subtracting with different denominators next time. I want to make sure you have it with the common denominators, and then make sure you're simplifying. You're reducing as far as you can.